Okay guys, Pokemon Emerald Kaizo is legitimately one of the most bullshit, dumpster fire Pokemon games to nuzlocke I've ever seen. With ludicrous difficulty, hacks, unfair gameplay, and the most tedious, infuriating grinding process I've ever seen in a Pokemon game. It's equivalent to something like The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, where it would take like 50 hours just to max out one skill with endless grinding. I made 3 videos on Pokemon Emerald Kaizo, and I never really realised until afterwards just how much I did not enjoy that game, though to the game's credit it was designed to be that way on purpose. Emerald Kaizo became popular again because of its status of being unfairly hard, but does being hard on its own make a game good? Well, no. Difficulty can be done wrong, and can cross the line of being infuriating and cheap, not good, making the game worse. Darkrai and Kaizo is also guilty of this. Abusing hacks in the unfair nuzlocke strategies is suicide inducing to play against. However, a game that is very tough but handles its difficulty correctly is a Gen 4 ROM hack, Pokemon RENEGADE PLATINUM, which is hard not because of stupid things like hacks in Destiny, Bond and Shadow Tag, but because enemy trainers have very well built teams that require well thought strategy to beat, unless you purposely overlevel them significantly. Yes, the NPCs have access to many advanced movesets, competitive held items, and very strong Pokemon, but so do you. You're given access to competitive, reusable TMs, Pokemon, and items to craft your own very powerful team with. The AI use very viable teams, but so can you. The game is completely fair as you're given all the tools you need to beat the game without overleveling. It's up to you to find out how to build your own team effectively and to win. In this video, I'll be doing an extreme nuzlocke run. All of my advanced nuzlocke rules will be active, such as no items from a bag during battle and set mode must be on. But one more restriction will be added. In this run, there will be a hard level cap for my team that I must adhere to. I am not allowed to overlevel the next gym leader's strongest Pokemon. I must enter that gym battle at their level. This time I won't be applying level caps to other bosses such as rival battles and villain bosses that I did in my Fire Red Omega run, as in this game there are so many boss fights and their levels are so close together, and that would be just way too much micromanaging to do. Capping for gym leaders makes the game just as hard and is also much simpler to do. One last rule is that in this run, all gift Pokemon will now be allowed, as the level cap makes this run so much harder to do. Also, I feel like in this game, the gift Pokemon were kind of supposed to be used, and they do add a big layer of strategy and a lot of team building options, which is really cool. The only limitation with this is that I can only use one starter and one fossil Pokemon in my party at a time. I have to choose my starter for my team. Species clause is active, so I can't use more than one of the same fossil. These restrictions will make this nuzlocke hard and will require me to have a good strategy if I'm to survive. With the rules established, it's now time to start the nuzlocke. Will I actually beat the game for good this time? There's only one way to find out. Let the nuzlocke begin! So I start this game again for like the 20th time. The first level cap is set to level 16 for the first gym leader's ace Pokemon. I always pick Turtwig as my starter, as it's the only starter that can reliably beat your rival starter in the very first battle, though not everyone counts that in this nuzlocke. I'll be given the other starters afterwards anyways. I win easily enough, then afterwards I take a look at my starter and
oh yeah!
It has an adamant nature, which is great. Though from the looks of it, its IVs aren't as great. But this is still a good Turtwig. I will say that while I can obsess a bit over my Pokemon's IVs and natures, oftentimes it is not the end all and be all. I have played with a modest nature Turtwig in previous nuzlocke runs, and it wasn't that much worse. Keep that in mind, though sometimes natures can make a difference. For example, if your defense nature lets you take a hit without breaking your sub, then that's a huge difference. But regardless, a skill in nuzlockes is to learn to roll with whatever happens and deal with what you're given, whether it's optimal or not. At Professor Rowan's lab, I pick up the other 2 Sinnoh starters, but I can only use one in my party at a time. For now, I keep Turtwig as my starter. Now I get some balls, I can now start the nuzlocke for real. It's exciting to see what Pokemon I get. I catch a Nidoran female, which I was so happy about, as Nidoqueen is one of my favourite Pokemon. It also had an impish nature, which was very good. I also catch a Wingull, then I get my free Eevee from my mum. It has a neutral nature, and I'll be evolving it into an Umbreon, as it's a very reliable wall which you will need in this run. I beat Dawn, then catch a Shinx with Intimidate, which is very nice to have. Luxury becomes an Electric Dark in this game, which is strong. So now it's time to grind for a bit. I will say, I've already failed this nuzlocke challenge several times, and it's much harder than you might think, even with Give Pokemon enabled. It's way harder than my Extreme Nuzlocke in Fire Red Omega. Boss fights in this game are very tough, as there's so many of them, and they all have very powerful Pokemon on their team. The level cap means that you're almost never safe, it can die at any point. In some battles, I have found strategies to make some battles much easier, but even then, hacks is almost always a factor. In fact, I'll go as far as to say that this challenge is approaching Emerald Kaizo in terms of difficulty, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it kind of is. Many of the boss battles on their own might be doable, but the fact that there are so many in this game, and the fact that they're all very hard, means that the probability that you can beat all of them without getting seriously hacked is very low. You could have the best team possible and still get wiped out at any point. That being said, many of these battles are the most tense I've ever had. It almost feels like you're playing against another player in Pokemon Showdown. But anyways, back to the run. I move on now that my team is strong, but I do have some close calls. A very important thing to do is to never leave your Pokemon in critical hit range. They have been the bane of my Nuzlocke, and you will get critted. A lot, it's just a matter of time. I don't know if it's just me, but in this game particularly, Renegade Platinum, I get bombarded with critical hits. I really hate this, as it makes battles go down to hacks and random variation, which is just unfair as it takes away from your strategy. At Veilstone City, I have to prepare for the first rival battle, and here you get access to so many Pokemon. First, I beat these news reporters and take the Kanto starters as gifts. They're nice, but I still keep Turtwig as my starter for now. I get a free egg from an NPC, which hatches into a Tyrogue. I get the Old Rod and start fishing in these routes. First up, I fish up a Finneon, which is okay. Then in the speech area, I get a Horsey, which is a good Pokemon. Then in the starting town, I fish up a Magikarp. It has a calm nature, which lowers his attack, but boosting his special defense is nice, as I will be setting up with Substitute. Then, last of all, I catch a Spinarak in the next route. Then in this cave area, I get a Wooper. Now I've caught all the available Pokemon up until this point. Now I've got to prepare for the first rival battle. He's not that hard, as long as you have a good water type for his Chimchar, and a way to deal with his Munchlax, which is strong. My Nidoran easily takes his team, with his super high physical defense and double kick. Well, so far so good I guess. I caught this Spearow which had a modest nature. At first I was pissed, but to be honest it didn't even end up mattering that much, it still put in work. I do catch a Riolu afterwards on the way to Orbor City, which is spicy. I beat the news reporters again, and get given the Hoenn starters. Now here what I do is that I use Mudkip as my starter, as it can easily destroy the first gym leader, which you will see very soon. So I box my Turtwig to make way, and now Mudkip is my starter. I catch some more Pokemon which I don't end up using, but I do take this free Beldum. This will be very important against the second gym leader, as you will see, especially as it's got a good nature in IVs, but definitely keep this safe as you will need it. Now I grade my whole team and evolve my Eevee into Umbreon. I do make sure to switch out some Pokemon, such as Shinx, for other ones that I caught, which will do better against Roark. When going into a boss battle, make sure your team is as optimal as possible for countering them. And while Marshtomp is my main win condition against Gym Leader, always make sure you've got a plan B and a plan C just in case. But now my team is at the appropriate level cap. I challenged Roark, and yeah, this was easy because I had Marshtomp with my team. It's one of the very few early game Pokemon that can reliably counter the first gym leader's whole team. This is because his first Pokemon will always go for Thunder Wave, Nosepass, to paralyze you, but Marshtomp doesn't care. Be careful of Cranidos as it's super strong, but yeah, that's an easy way to get the first gym badge. The level cap is now raised to level 26. Before proceeding to the next boss fight, I get the next batch of Pokemon that are available to me. First up we get the Johto starters, which are awesome. Cyndaquil can get adaptability, which is insane to have. I do catch a Magnemite, which will be good as you can get a powerful Magnezone early game. But with the next batch caught, I now have to prepare for the Team Galactic Commander. A very important strategy is that you can get leftovers this early in the game by farming this honey tree for Munchlaxes, as they always have leftovers. This only takes like 2 minutes and I get free leftovers by using Covet on my Umbreon to steal the leftovers. This is extremely useful early game. Something very good happened afterwards as I encountered a shiny Pachirisu, which I catch it because of the shiny claws, It's nice as this Pokemon has added stats buff in this game, which can be useful. I evolved my Magikarp into Gyarados, which is very important for your team. Then after another grinding session, I go to the next boss fight, which wasn't too hard, but there was still a bit of hacks and some close calls. Marshtomp almost lost to her Zubat, which was really clutch. Purugly was strong, but Gyarados puts it out. Be very careful of critical hits. But after that, Gyarados sweeps the rest of our team, as the leftover recovery is amazing. At Eterna Forest, there is this boss battle against Cheryl, who can be hard if you're not prepared, but Umbreon and Marshtomp can easily counter her team. Chansey is surprisingly threatening here, but Umbreon is too tanky. I did get really pissed off at her in the double battle encounter, as she always knocks out both wild Pokemon, not letting you catch anything. Damn, I would have loved to have Breloom in my team, but oh well. At least in this manner afterwards, I catch a Rattata, which is surprisingly strong in this game. The noteworthy thing is that I do count static encounters as separate encounters, so guess what? I can catch this Rotom, but right now I won't be using it. I also encountered this Gengar, but it slits its own wrist with Curse and dies. Oh well. Now we're at the second gym, and really need to prepare. I catch many new Pokemon from the surrounding areas, such as Poliwag, Cleffa and Snover. Be very careful in the snow area. The trainers here are very tough, and in my previous runs I've had several casualties here. Do not be afraid to approach the level cap, you should be fine. What I do to avoid overleveling is I keep Marshtomp and use it here, as I won't be using Marshtomp against Gardenia, so it doesn't matter if it surpasses level 26. But see, I almost lost to this first trainer in the snow area, as this Porygon and Vigoroth are really threatening. Be very careful here. If you let your guard down at all, you might get wrecked. Now I unlock the second gym and prepare to challenge the second gym leader. And this is potentially very hard, but I came up with a good strategy to beat it. I replaced Riolu and Marshtomp with Quilava and Fearow, then go to get the second gym badge. This battle mostly went to plan. Mostly. There was a lot of hacks, again, which I just hate to see. I know that Gardenia's first Pokemon is always Blossom, in that it always goes for Stun Spore, so always lead off with a substitute user. Gyarados is my best option for this, as it's strong and bulky. It's also very easy to get, so everyone will have this at this point. Bounce is super strong, even with the calm nature, and what's really cool is that with Bounce you can stall turns for the extra leftovers recovery. Missing a Bounce wasn't nice though, so I go to work, but this Breloom is where my plan just fell apart. I miss Bounce again, which is extremely unlikely, then my substitute gets blown up by Thunder Punch. I could easily destroy this Breloom with another Bounce, but I cannot risk losing my Gyarados to Thunder Punch, because this game's hacks can be super unfair, so I switch in Nidoqueen just to be safe, who seems like a favourable matchup. Until it gets one-shotted by Bullet Seed. Jesus. I know Breloom is very strong, but Nidoqueen is also very bulky, oh my god. It's my first casualty also, and it had to be my favourite Pokemon. But anyways, I'm in a bit of trouble, as I ran out of PP for Bounce, and now my Gyarados has to retreat. Fearow surprisingly puts in work, and the last Pokemon Roserade comes out, which is a massive threat, as it's got Dazzling Gleam and Extra Sensory for very good coverage. But fortunately, like I mentioned earlier on, my Metang is really useful here, as it can completely wall Roserade and beat it easily. That's the main reason why I brought it to this battle in the first place, specifically for this Pokemon. Oh well, at least that's the second gym badge done. I'm sad about Nidoqueen, but this battle could have been worse. But now the level cap is raised to level 32 for the third gym leader. Though afterwards something incredibly dumb happened. I misclicked and lost my Marshtomp to this wild Snover. I was so pissed over this. I was practically half asleep while playing this and really beat myself up over this. But anyways, I battled the next galactic boss and she wasn't too hard. But something very bad happened. Gyarados was doing what it does best and is beating down her team easily and is about to win against the Skuntank, as the leftovers recovery is too strong. Until it got a critical hit and beat my Gyarados. I was really not happy about this. It looks like some min-maxing was going on, as it must have been very close. But honestly, this was my fault. I could have easily switched out to save it, to not risk it in the first place. But no, I thought maybe for once I would not get haxed. But no, I got haxed. This ends up biting me in the ass later on. Oh, piss off, this Porygon has an adamant nature. That sucks. No joke, I was so tilted over that loss. But now I have to move on. At least I get the fossils, which I go to resurrect. Hell, in my last run, I almost lost to the strainer who had a strong Torkoal, as it got super buffed, and I know that sounds really dumb to say, but that's just how it is. I battle Mira afterwards, but as I was prepared, she wasn't hard. Metank can outspeed her Togetic, set up Substitute and wall it, and it beats the rest of her team. Finally an easy boss fight. Then after that I battled Dawn, who literally jumps me, and this battle was not pleasant. I used Feraligatr as my starter, which did well, but this Clefable was hacking me. But as soon as this Lopunny hits the field, everything went wrong, as I never planned for this, and it turned out I've got no counters for this. I lost my Fearow and Lucario, as neither of them were able to outspeed it. I honestly thought I was going to lose this run, but luckily Aerodactyl was able to stop it, at the cost of 2 of my teammates. Oh man, that was tense, but the worst is yet to come. Before I reach the 3rd gym, I have to beat Bugsy, who will not be easy. I once again have to rebuild my team for this. I evolve Magneton into Magnezone, and train up my Pelipper and Pachirisu, as not much my PC can handle as Bug Team. Now I think I'm ready. I've just got to beat Bugsy, and I'll be very close to reaching the Silesian EV training farm, at which point the game becomes much easier. Well, that didn't end up happening, because guess what? I got completely bodied against his boss battle. Oh my god. This is where not having Gyarados in my team really backfired, as it would have been super good here. The battle starts off easily enough, as his lead Pokemon Dustox always wastes a turn go for Toxic, which gives me the opportunity to set up a substitute with Aerodactyl. But in came Scizor, and oh god, this is where everything fell apart. Now, instead of switching in Quilava, for some reason I switched in Pelipper as it can resist it. In hindsight, this was a horrible misplay, which really cost me the Nuzlocke, as Scizor just set up Sword Stance, and Pelipper was just short of being able to two-shot it. But it's fine. Pachirisu can just finish it up with Charge Beam to boost his special attack stat, right? Oh come on! 90% accuracy my ass. It misses when I really need it to hit. At this point I'm fucked. Magnezone finishes this damn Scizor, but this Drapion was also a monster, as it got a critical hit and destroyed my Magnezone, as it's got the sniper ability. I switched in Aerodactyl, but then that got one-shotted also, by another critical hit. Quilava also got destroyed, as unknown to me, Pelipper's Drizzle is permanent. I thought it was changed to only last 5 turns, but no, it's permanent in this game. This left my last 2 Pokemon, who eventually get taken out. So yeah, that's a Nuzlocke over. This is an example of just how hard this game is to Nuzlocke with extreme rules, and it goes to show how decision making in battle really is the difference between winning and losing. Overall, looking back, I could have done this better, and I'm a bit disappointed. Unlike in Fire Red Omega, I don't always win my Nuzlockes. But this also goes to show just how prevalent hacks really is, in that you always need to consider it. But this concludes the run. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I will be taking a break from Renegade Platinum for a while, and will be moving on to other ROM hacks. I was thinking of doing Pokemon Shiny Gold X next, which is a Gen 3 ROM hack of Johto region. I was also thinking of doing a challenge video on Pokemon Showdown, and one on Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, so let me know if you would like to see that. But anyways, I will see you all next time. This is Ding Dong signing out.